In the top stories, 4 bills to be read at next sitting of National Assembly on Friday. Jair Bolsonaro breaks silence and says we'll follow Brazil's constitution. And South Korea responds to missile launches from North Korea. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, 4 bills will be read at the sitting of National Assembly on Friday at 10 a.m. at government headquarters. The bills are the Companies Amendment Bill 2022, the Evangelistic Faith Church Incorporation Bill 2022, the Small Business Development Amendment Bill, and the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill. The Companies Amendment Bill seeks to allow creditors, directors, shareholders, and other interested persons to apply to the High Court to deal with any assets previously held by the struck exempt companies. The bill therefore seeks to bring the Act into compliance with the Constitution so that assets are not vested in the state without alternative options available to the beneficial owners of those assets. The Evangelistic Faith Church St. Kitts Incorporation Bill seeks to give the Evangelistic Faith Church, situated at the alley in Sandy Point, St. Kitts, the power to own land and otherwise have legal standing. The aim of the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill is to make urgent changes to protect victims of domestic violence and provide them with swift access to justice. The bill allows victims of domestic violence or persons on their behalf to apply to the Magistrates Court or the High Court for protection orders. This will rectify issues raised with the Ministry of Gender Affairs that the cost of obtaining protection orders only in the High Court was unaffordable for many victims and their families. The bill also expands the definition of economic abuse to cover situations where perpetrators have full access and control over victims' financial resources and gives the Director of Gender Affairs powers under the Act, rather than the Director of Social Family Services as previously legislated. The approval of this bill aligns with the Cabinet's promise to take steps to decrease domestic violence in society. The Cabinet Small Business Amendment Bill seeks to change the minister with responsibility for administering the Small Business Act and appointing the Small Business Development Advisory Committee to the minister with specific responsibility for small business. Previously, the minister responsible was the Minister of Industry and Commerce. The definition of small business will also be amended to include businesses in which not more than 30 persons are employed. Previously, the number of employees was limited at 25. This decision aligns with the government's fundamental goal to provide small businesses with the necessary governmental support to grow, thrive, and employ more people. Her Excellency Nerys Dockery, Permanent Representative of St. Kitts and Nevis to the United Nations, recently presented her credentials to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres during a brief and significant ceremony at the UN headquarters in New York. Permanent Representative Dockery reiterated Prime Minister Drew's deep and enduring commitment to the United Nations and, quote, to the spirit of multilateralism and that it seeks to protect and defend, end quote. Her Excellency Dockery said, quote, I pledge to you today, Secretary General, that during my tenure, St. Kitts and Nevis will add value to the work of the UN, even as you do the same for the people of my great country. I look forward to working with you and to our fruitful engagements over the next few weeks and months, end quote. She expressed delight in being St. Kitts and Nevis's youngest and first female permanent representative to the UN. She noted that since her arrival in New York, work has begun to build and expand St. Kitts and Nevis's networks at the United Nations. Additionally, she has participated and enhanced the Federation's influence in, quote, collective actions to resolve problems faced by the human family, end quote, as well as re-established and reaffirmed old partnerships and aggressively face new ones with like-minded countries in order to advance our agenda to take our tiny twin island federation back to number 1 again, end quote. Ms. Dockery said that it is St. Kitts and Nevis's, quote, firm belief that the United Nations provides indispensable global leadership in addressing humanity's common challenges and endeavor, end quote. In other news, government is pushing forward with its agenda to improve the conditions for differently abled persons in the Federation, according to the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service. On Tuesday, Junior Minister with responsibility for aging and disabilities, the Honorable Iselin Phillip, met with members of the St. Kitts and Nevis Association of Persons with Disabilities and others for a discussion. The session was held at the McKnight Community Center and featured presentations from the President and Vice President of the Association, as well as the President of the St. Kitts Society for the Blind. Members of both bodies attended, as well as parents and guardians of persons with a disability. The SKNAPD President, Joseph Bergen, said that such engagements are greatly valued as they allow for an honest discussion and an exchange of ideas. He said that the ultimate aim is to have differently abled persons be self-sufficient and lead independent lives. During her presentation, Junior Minister Phillips said that the government is specifically focused on uplifting vulnerable segments in society, including at-risk youth, senior citizens, and the differently abled. She's quoted as saying, "We recognize the need to pay more attention and to put more investment into supporting our persons with disabilities and the differently abled. As a new minister, we're trying to build out what this new department, this unit, is going to offer and what we're going to do. And to be able to figure out what it is we're going to do, we have to have conversations with all of you, since you are the people we're going to serve." End quote. Subject areas covered during the discussion were finding a permanent home for the association, updating legislation to include mandates in the UN Convention on Persons with Disabilities, protecting designated parking spaces for the differently abled, and adjusting other traffic regulations, housing, reducing the stigma towards disability, increasing employment opportunities, and more.